Welcome to the MMA Minute Show. Today, we're making our UFC 283 full card predictions. This card headlined by Glover Teixeira taking on Jamahal Hill. That's going down a battle for the vacant light heavyweight belt. We also have Figueiredo versus Moreno for what should be their final fight together. Who really knows? I always have a fun time watching them. Last week, UFC Vegas 67, the first card of the year, we went 7-4. It went well, so let's keep it going. And just real quick, guys, today's video sponsored by Immortal Coffee. Got it right here. Yes, Immortal Coffee, co-owned by the legend himself, Matt Brown. Use promo code MMA Minute for 15% off any item in their store. That's promo code MMA Minute. Link is in the video description. Order now. Properly prepare for UFC 283. Because it's going to be a long night. Guys, if you're new to the channel, make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to hit that subscribe button, all that fun stuff. And we're going to get right into it here. Top to bottom, that's how I like to do it. So let's go. First fight of the night, Glover Teixeira taking on Jamahal Hill. And we all know Glover. The dude is an absolute bulldog. But his game plan here is going to be based around securing the takedowns. And when he's able to do that, he's vicious on the ground, and that really opens him up on the feet when it's standing up. We saw that against Ihor. It's not like he was just doing well with the ground game, because he was also doing very good on the feet, landing some really big shots, nearly ending that fight. This guy's durable. I feel like there's this weird reputation that he's chinny, and I just think that's false. I think he got knocked down by Thiago Santos, ended up winning that fight, and since – I don't know, maybe it's been 5 years since the last time he's been knocked out. So I think that rumor, that's a myth. He's the former champ, all the experience in the world. And for some reason, he's coming into this as an underdog, which to me feels kind of insane. And listen, Jamahal Hill, great fighter. He's done very well in the UFC so far. He's getting a huge opportunity here. Basically, the UFC said, screw Jan Blachowicz, screw Magomed Ankalaev. We got two fresh guys in here. They're going to fight for the vacant belt. Primarily a striker. I mean, that's kind of an understatement to say. I don't think he's ever secured a takedown in the UFC. 5 of his 6 wins, he has finished in the UFC. He's a striker with power. And the boxing looks very good. He mixes it up well. Head, body, head. And really, sweet dreams. I mean, he's got the kiss of death in those hands. If he's able to land, he can end the fight. But when I go back and I look at the fight with Thiago Santos, Santos looked to use the wrestling. He was able to take him down 6 times. Previously in the UFC, he was taken down 6 times in another fight. We saw one of his losses to Paul Craig. He definitely struggled there when someone had solid jiu-jitsu. So, I see that path to victory here for Glover. He's been at the highest level. You can keep saying, oh, he's 40 years old, he's 41 years old, he's 42 years old. It doesn't matter. Glover is still here. He's still relevant. He's going to win. I love him here as an underdog. Give me Glover, round 2 submission. And that brings us to the co-main event. Deiveson Figueiredo taking on Brandon Moreno. Number 4, the quadrilogy is here. And just real quick, we got to acknowledge both of these guys. Figueiredo, when it is all said and done, he's going to go down as one of the greatest flyweights of all time, behind Demetrius Johnson, behind Triple C. Figueiredo needs his respect. And Brandon Moreno, kind of the same thing. He was cut from the UFC back in 2018, and then he turns his career around, becomes the champ, defeats Figueiredo. The trilogy is epic. We all love to see it. And they've been so close, back and forth in all 3 of these fights. The only outlier really is number 2, where you could say Figueiredo maybe had a bad weight cut and, Moreno dominated, got the submission. But I really look at this fight, and if all things are equal, if the weight cut goes okay for Figueiredo, which really the eyes are on for me because he's getting older, mid-30s, is he still going to be able to cut weight effectively? I don't know. We're going to see. But if all things are equal, I don't see why this isn't just the same fight as number 3, which is just a razor-close decision where you give the power advantage to Figgy, and then you give the cardio and the output to Moreno on the ground, it seems to be a stalemate. And especially now, we're seeing damage trumps all. And Figgy was definitely landing the bigger shots. He had some knockdowns in that fight that really won him the fight. I just don't see how this is going to go differently. I think both guys are pretty much at the same level as they were before. I got to go with Figueiredo. It's a super close fight. It's about a pick 'em in the odds. I got to ride with Figueiredo. That's what I'm doing. Figueiredo wins this fight by decision, and then he retires. That's my prediction. Moving on. Gilbert Burns taking on Neil Magny. Listen, I love Neil Magny. I think he's underrated, underappreciated. He's a well-rounded fighter, great cardio. I think he beats a lot of guys in this division, but we've seen it before. This guy, when he hits that top 10 ranked tier, he just falters. He's just not at that level. He really isn't, but he beats a lot of other guys. And specifically, if we go back, Shavkat had his way with him on the ground. Michael Chiesa had his way with him on the ground. Gilbert Burns is an elite fighter. Yeah, he's got huge hands, has a ton of power, but he's also very good, very effective on the ground. I don't really see how Magny's going to win this unless he is the one that's out grappling Gilbert Burns and is able to hold him down and control him for all 3 rounds. And I just don't see that happening, especially after we saw Gilbert Burns go against Khamzat Chimaev and was able to keep the fight standing and was just an absolute monster on the feet. And I see this not ending well for Neil Magny. Gilbert Burns still deserves to be in that top 5 consideration. He's one of the best fighters in this division. I firmly believe that. He doesn't have a whole bunch of submissions on record. I realize that, but I can see this being maybe a club and sub type of situation. Gilbert Burns lands the bigger shots, deals the damage, finds a round 2 submission over Neil Magny. Next up, Lauren Murphy taking on Jessica Andrade. And, the odds are a little wide here. I'm not gonna lie. You have Andrade is close to a minus 500 favorite. Listen, this is the thing. Jessica Andrade bounces between 115 to 125. She's, I think at 115, she's an absolute powerhouse. At 125, you start to see some of these bigger size advantages kind of going against her, but she's held her own. When she's been tested at 125, she has held her own. She has wins. We saw over Caitlin Chukagian, who's the top tier of that division at 125, knocks her out in round 1. So, yeah, even the fact that this fight is going on at 125, Lauren Murphy, very durable, very strong. That's the only thing that I can see for her, is that she might have a slight strength advantage, but she doesn't really do anything very good. She's very, well-rounded. She can mix in the striking with the takedowns, but she's not going to knock you out. She's going to look to slow this fight down, kind of grind you out. But now she's 39 years old. She already fought for the belt, got absolutely destroyed by the champ Valentina. She's just kind of hanging around here. And Andrade is still pushing for a title shot. That's going to happen soon, whether it be at 115 or 125. She's still looking very solid. And I just think Andrade being the much more explosive fighter, she's definitely going to be able to finish this fight, or at least have the greater ability to finish this fight, or to deal the more damage, or to even throw in a couple of sub attempts in there. This is another one of those fights, kind of like Burns versus Magny. I just don't really see how Lauren Murphy is going to win this fight unless she's able to just push this fight against the cage, rack up the control time, get in the clinch, really slow it down, which, yeah, there is a possibility that happens. But Andrade, I got to go with her. So much more explosive. I got to go with her. And Lauren Murphy, durable. I think this goes all 3 rounds. But give me Jessica Andrade to win by decision. I hate the odds. I am not betting on this fight. If anything, take a flyer on Lauren Murphy by decision, because who knows? Maybe she can pull it off, and you're going to get that at a very good price. Moving on. Last fight on the main card here. Paul Craig taking on Johnny Walker. And guys, I don't know what to do with Johnny Walker. I cannot predict this guy's fights. And I'm just close to just fading him at all costs. But This is a little bit intriguing because Johnny Walker has never been submitted before. Craig doesn't have that one-shot knockout power that Jamahal Hill had to test Walker's chin. And we just kind of saw it. Volkan Ozdemir against Paul Craig stuff the takedowns, keep the fight standing. Paul Craig just straight up doesn't have a great stand-up game. He doesn't. So can I see a path to victory here similar to Volkan Ozdemir with Johnny Walker winning that type of fight? Yeah, I can see it. I really can. He's going to have a huge reach advantage here. I think it's a 6-inch reach advantage for Johnny Walker. We've seen it. He's a good striker. He's explosive. He can finish fights. And I can even say on the ground, he's looked very solid as a grappler. So I feel like he should be able to at least defend against Paul Craig if it gets to the ground. But I think Johnny Walker can keep the fight standing. He can use the range. And I hate to say it, but I'm going to go with Johnny Walker to win this fight. And I think he finds the finish. And I know people love Paul Craig. They'll be hammering that submission prop. That's what you do with Paul Craig. But I think Johnny Walker, this fight's taking place in Brazil. Round 3 TKO for Johnny Walker. I'm doing it. Next fight, we're going to the prelims. Shogun is back. This is his retirement fight, taking on Ihor Potieria. And I don't know what to do with this fight. You know, I really do believe they're giving Shogun a legitimate chance to win this fight. He's coming into this as an underdog. I think it's close to a 2-to-1 price for Shogun as the underdog. But I look at this guy. He's over 40 years old. He's dropped 2 of the last 3. The motivation, he was finished by Paul Craig. I think he tapped as he was getting ground and pound, just destroyed on the ground, really. And he tapped. Not a great look. Then he loses a very boring, close split decision loss to OSP. And I just don't know what to do with that. But when I look at Potieria, he's not looking good either. The tape on this guy really does not impress you. And the Dana White Contender Series, he just goes in throwing big looping hooks. Really, round 1 was very uneventful, but until he landed that big shot, got the finish, it didn't really look great. The way that I kind of see this going is I think Shogun is going to have success on the ground early. He's going to land a couple takedowns, can probably get some control time in there. But eventually, I just feel like he's going to start to fade. He's going to start to gas. And Potieria, I don't want to say he takes over completely, but I do think he'll find the kill shot eventually. And I want to back Shogun here as an underdog, but I think Potieria gets it done. Round 2 TKO. Shogun has a good round 1 and then falls off a cliff. And unfortunately, Potieria takes it. So I'm not betting on this at all. Hopefully, Shogun can pull it off, but that's a tough one for me. Next fight. Gregory Rodrigues taking on Brunno Ferreira. And, you know, this is a short notice replacement in Ferreira. RoboCop, I think originally was supposed to take on, I don't have the name with me, but that's totally fine. Either way, Ferreira's coming into this undefeated pro record, 9-0, 6 TKOs, 3 submissions. He's not fighting great competition. This is a padded record. It's a padded 9-0. But then he gets his chance on the Dana White Contender Series, goes in there, shows solid power, gets the job done quick in round 1. And that's going to be this dude's path to victory. He has very good power. He finishes fights. And, you know, Gregory Rodrigues, RoboCop, the dude welcomes a brawl. He is okay doing that. And that's what scares me just a little bit. But, I mean, you watch the fight with Chidi and Jaquani, and this dude has the heart of 20 lions. You know what I mean? This dude is going to fight for your money. He's going to keep coming forward. Very tough to put away. He's extremely well-rounded. Great on the feet, good power. But if he takes it to the ground, the grappling is there as well. I think he's very underrated. He's flying under the radar here. Very well could be undefeated in the UFC. I thought he beat Arman Petrosian, but that doesn't really matter here. I think he gets the job done. He's going to finish the fight. This is going to happen quick. I think both these guys have the power. They're going to be looking to put on a show, but I think it's Gregory Rodrigues who finds the shot first, and he hurts Ferreira, jumps on the back, rear naked choke. Let's go with a Rodrigues round 1 submission. Next fight, Thiago Moises taking on, I'm just going to call him Mel Costa. Probably can't pronounce that name. Mel Costa taking on Thiago Moises. This is Costa coming in on short notice. Thiago Moises, the -300 favorite. Costa, the +240 underdog. Listen, I like Thiago Moises. I've been a fan for a long time. I've been impressed with him. I think he's extremely well-rounded. The striking is solid. Obviously, the grappling, that's where he makes his money. Very good grappler. At one point, this dude was top 15 ranked. He belongs in that range. He's a fringe 15 guy. Loses to Demir, loses to Joel Alvarez, but he's, wins over Bobby Green, Michael Johnson, Alex Hernandez. He proves to be in that fringe 15 range. And he's going against the guy in Costa. And let me tell you, this guy's legit. He belongs in the UFC. I believe that. Fights in LFA, 26 years old, has a ton of experience for a 26-year-old. 24 pro fights. Trains in Brazil. I mean, the tape checks out. This guy's a very dangerous, sharp striker. Mixes up his attacks well. Front kicks to the body, multiple shot combinations, spinning attacks. The ground game seems to check out. I think he'll be able to not match Moises, but I don't think he'll necessarily just get taken down and submitted right away. I think he'll be able to defend it. And if it stays standing, man, this dude has a chance. But I think Moises will be able to handle it. I really do. I think Moises will be able to land a couple takedowns, get the control time in there, throw up a couple sub attempts. Costa will be able to fight it off. And on the feet, I'd probably give the edge slightly to Costa, but Moises is right there. I think it's going to go to decision. I think it's going to be very close. I really like Costa here, as a UFC prospect, but Moises has the goods. I do believe he's a pretty highly ranked fighter in the UFC. So it's a tough UFC debut on a pay-per-view. I'm going to lean Moises by decision. The split prop could definitely be there. I think this could be pretty close. And I'm going to keep an eye on Costa for the future, but I'm going to lean with Moises in this one. Next up, we got Gabriel Bonfim taking on Mounir Lazzez. And let me tell you, we got quite a bit of prospects here. Some good prospects. The Bonfim brothers are here officially. They're in the UFC, both fighting on this card. Gabriel, 25 years old, former LFA champ, 13 pro fights, 13 finishes, 10 by submission. But don't let that fool you, because this dude has the hands. I'm telling you, he's got the goods. He's very well-rounded, very good on the ground, but he likes to strike, and he's very confident in doing it. Slick boxing, he's accurate, he's got good power, and if he hurts you and he sees an opportunity and he can take you to the ground, he's going to do that, and his submissions are very dangerous. And I think this is an interesting fight. Listen, Mounir Lazzez is a solid fighter, but he's 35 years old now. He's had it's a short career in the UFC. He started late, but he's got some good wins, man. He's got some good wins. He beat Al Hassan, closer fight, but Angelusa goes in there, lands over 100 significant strikes, beats him. He does have that loss to Warley Alves where he got absolutely smoked out in 2 minutes. But overall, man, he's a very good striker. Seems to have decent takedown defense, and he just hasn't really been tested on the ground all that much with a high-level grappler. So I think this really makes for an intriguing matchup, and it's kind of interesting to see that Bonfim is coming in as a pretty decent favorite. Close to -200. Lazzez around that +160 underdog range. I think the value kind of makes sense to Lazzez as the underdog since Bonfim is making his UFC debut. But, man, I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing. I think Bonfim is going to go in there. He's going to be aggressive. He's going to be looking to make a statement early. I think he finds a Warley Alves type of knockout. Not going to happen in round 1. It's going to happen in round 2. So give me Gabriel Bonfim to win by round 2 knockout. Next fight, Jailton Almeida taking on Shamil. And, I don't know what it is. The UFC absolutely loves Jailton Almeida. They are spoon-feeding him quick finishes, round 1 finishes with little to no hiccups, little to no obstacles. Shamil's 41 years old. He's coming off 3 straight losses where he's either been knocked out or TKO'd. Last win was now almost 4 years ago. I don't really understand what we're doing. We're just feeding Almeida to create the hype that belongs to be there. This guy's very good, but at some point he's going to be facing good competition and he'll get a test eventually, but it's not here. It's not against Shamil. He's a massive favorite. Almeida's like minus 1,000. I have the difficult thing is to pick how Almeida's going to win. And I'm going to go with Jailton Almeida finds a round 1 TKO, gets the fight to the ground, just works the ground and pound, relentless. You could get a submission in there. It's not going to decision, but I'll take the Almeida round 1 TKO. There's no other pick. I'm sorry. Next fight on the card. We have Luan Lacerda taking on Cody Stamann. That is the next fight here. And, I've gone back and forth on this one because I'm not entirely sold on Cody Stamann. I'm not. But you look at his career, it's very up and down. Started out 3-0, but then he just was fed to the wolves. Aljamain Sterling, Song Yadong, Brian Kelleher, Jimmy Rivera, Merab, Said Nurmagomedov. Like, the UFC did not do him any favors. They pushed him as soon as he had that 3-fight win streak. Then he lost 3 straight fights, 2 of those killer competition. Bounced back with a round 1 knockout over Eddie Wineland, which was nice. That's a good recovery fight. You see Cody Stamann fight. He's a former D2 wrestler. At his best, he's throwing a medium level of output, 60 to 70 strike range, and he grinds you out with the wrestling. And that can be pretty interesting here because Lacerda, making his UFC debut, fights out of LFA previously. He's on a 10-fight win streak, 9 by submission. He's a black belt, and he's going to have a 9-inch reach advantage over Cody Stamann. He's training partners with Jose Aldo. I watched some of the tape on him. He's got decent striking, and he usually finds a way to get this to the ground, and if he gets it to the ground, he's dangerous. Off his back, offensively, it doesn't matter. Top control. The guy's a problem on the ground, and that scares me a little bit because, as I said, Stamann being the wrestler, he likes to take this fight to the ground if he can. And I do feel like he should have the wrestling acumen to be able to handle Lacerda, keep himself out of harm's way, even though I know Said Nurmagomedov guillotined him in, 30 seconds into that fight. I think he'll learn from that. I think Stamann does win this fight. The odds scare me a little bit. You're getting Lacerda close to a plus 300 underdog. I think there's some value here, but I'll go with Stamann to win this fight, keep the win streak going, and I'll even say he gets the ground and pound finish in round 2. Next fight on the card here, the second Bonfim brother, Ismael Bonfim, taking on Terrence McKinney. Man, that is a tough name to draw. You're going to get Terrence McKinney on your UFC debut. And, dude, strangely enough, this fight opened, I believe, at one point, Bonfim might have been the favorite. Right now, it's kind of hovering as a pick'em. And Terrence McKinney has been that guy in the UFC. He is that dude. The people love him. He's explosive. He's fun to watch. Quick round 1 finishes. That's been his entire career. He's a state champ wrestler, wrestled D2 in college, but eventually he dropped out to pursue MMA, and it's gone very well for him. And, you see him on the feet. He just goes in there reckless, brings the knees up, throws the elbows, doesn't matter. He's looking to end this fight as fast as possible. And if he's not going to do it with the striking, he's going to take you down. The submissions are there. But it feels like all of that kind of goes on for about 1 round, maybe for a few minutes into the second round. But he fights so hard and he's so explosive that he kind of opens himself up and he can be finished. He can be defeated. And I feel like Bonfim can win this fight if he just doesn't get finished in round 1. This Bonfim brother, more of the striker, more of a primary striker than his brother is, who's more of a well-rounded, can go to the ground if he needs to. This Bonfim brother is going to be looking to stand up and strike, and he's good, man. He looks solid. The defense seems to be there. Good movement, rips to the body, good combination, solid power. When you go back and look, he's got 3 career losses. One is to Adriano Moraes, which has aged very well, and one is to Renato Moicano. So he's faced good competition. 27 years old. He's been fighting as a pro since 2011, man. I think he can win this fight. I think he's going to weather the early storm of Terrence McKinney, and he's going to turn around and win this fight. I'm going with a round 2 TKO for the second Bonfim brother here to get it done, and both Bonfims win. And they're in the UFC. They're both making statements against good competition. I can't wait. Next fight, Warlley Alves taking on Nicholas Dalby. Another intriguing matchup. I mean, you're getting Warlley Alves, he's only 32 years old, but dude, the guy's UFC career has been insane. Another guy who started out with a lot of hype, faced a lot of killers. Kamaru Usman, Randy Brown, James Krause, Brian Barberena. Like, he's been around the block. He's faced a good level of competition, but he's been very up and down, and kind of since then, still very up and down. I don't really think he's found his rhythm. Can't really be trusted all that well, but he is dangerous. Explosive power on the feet, nasty submissions on the ground. He's very dangerous, but he's inconsistent. And if Nicholas Dalby is anything, he is a consistent fighter. 38 years old, but he's tough. He's durable. 8 of his 9 UFC fights have gone to decision. He's a very middling fighter, but he's pretty well-rounded. Doesn't do anything great, but he's good, and he's consistent. The takedown defense is all right. He's faced grapplers before. Claudio Silva had 4 takedowns on him, but he was able to still turn around and win that fight. And I feel like the same thing is going to happen here. Warlley Alves is kind of finish or bust here, and I think Dalby handles it and ends up winning a decision. So I'm going with Nicholas Dalby to win by decision. Next fight, Josiane Nunes taking on Zarah Fairn. Listen, Zarah Fairn, 0-2 in the UFC so far. This is taking place at the 145-pound division, the women's division here. It's a non-existent division. It's Amanda Nunes and Megan Anderson, and that's about it. So not much going on in this division, but Fairn, 0-2 so far. She was finished by some of the only 145ers out there. Megan Anderson, round 1 submission. Felicia Spencer, now retired, round 1 TKO. She just doesn't seem to be UFC ready. She's just fighting at a division where there's no competition. So, yeah, every now and then they'll throw a fight in there. And Nunes, we've seen so far, has looked solid. 2-0 in the UFC. Solid power. She had a round 1 TKO in her debut. She had 2 knockdowns in her last fight. The grappling's not her strong point. That's the one thing. But if it stays standing, I mean, this is Nunes all day, but I'm not betting on this. I'm not touching this fight at all. Nunes is the official pick by round 1 TKO, but I'm staying away from a betting standpoint. Not much to do there. Not much to do there. Next fight, Simon Oliveira taking on Daniel Marcos. Let's see. We got Oliveira, Dana White Contender Series, picked up a split decision win there. Then he goes against Tony Gravely, gets taken down 11 times. 11 minutes of control. Yes, he is a submission specialist. He attempted 4 sub-attempts, but ultimately controlled the entire time by a solid wrestler in Tony Gravely. 30-27, unanimous decision, lost that one. But he does want this fight to go to the ground. He's a grappling specialist. The striking, not all that great, not very technical. He loads up on a ton of his shots, throws a lot of spinning attacks. He's a wild man on the feet, but he wants to take it to the ground. And I just feel like if he's not able to get it to the ground, the takedowns don't look very solid there. And if he is going to go in there on the feet, throwing these crazy attacks, Marcos is by far the better striker. We see him 13-0 pro record, Dana White Contender Series alum as well. He picked up a unanimous decision, 81-45, significant strikes. That was the difference there. He had 1 knockdown. He was able to stuff the takedowns. His opponent was 2 of 13 on the takedowns. So he was able to defend well. He got back to his feet. He just seems to be able to stylistically win this fight as long as he does not get submitted. So as the underdog, I do love the pick here. I'll go with Daniel Marcos to win this fight by decision. I think it's a solid underdog play. It's a good way to start off the card. And that's it, guys. That is all the fights for UFC 283. Thanks for watching. Let me know your picks, your opinions in the comments. Again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Have a great day. And as always, guys, Good luck.